Good morning. It's April 6th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with an unprecedented meetup between Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen and U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California. The Taiwanese leader says that democracy is under threat, prompting McCarthy to respond with unwavering support for the self-governing island in the face of increasing threats from China. Beijing warns of a resolute response to Wednesday's meeting. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency, Japan's Fukushima wastewater monitoring system is reliable to a large extent, but the country still needs to address lingering worries. The World Expo delegation will finish off inspecting and learning about the city of Busan today, before a decision is made on the venue for the 2030 edition of the event. The final day includes a visit to the UN Memorial Cemetery, a dinner at Nurimaru APEC House, and fireworks at Kwangali Beach. Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen met with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, with their talk centering on keeping democracy on the self-governing island. Now, Wednesday's rare meetup immediately drew condemnation from China. Our Kim Hyun-sung has our top story this morning.
A historic meeting on American soil on Wednesday local time. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen met with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and stated that democracy is under threat.
We once again find ourselves in a world where democracy is under threat, and the urgency of keeping the beacon of freedom shining cannot be understated.
This meeting at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library is the highest level meeting on U.S. soil since Washington broke off ties with Taiwan back in 1979. Under Beijing's One China principle, China claims Taiwan as part of its own. And in an effort to maintain diplomacy with China, the U.S. officially only recognizes Beijing and has no formal ties with Taipei, despite its unofficial relationship with the island. So this session could be read as an open defiance to China's position, even though Tsai's visit to the U.S. is only referred to as just a stopover on her week-long trip to Central America.
The friendship between the people of Taiwan and America is a matter of profound importance to the free world, and it is critical to maintain economic freedom, peace, and regional stability.
China was not too happy about this meetup. In a statement made earlier on Thursday Beijing time, its foreign ministry said that it firmly opposes and strongly condemns this meeting and that it sends a wrong message to the so-called Taiwan independent separatist forces. Strong words from the statement, which goes on to say that Beijing's One China policy is the basis of U.S.-China relations, and that this high-profile meeting shows that the U.S. has crossed the line and betrayed its commitments. Kim Hyun-sung, Arirang News.
The International Atomic Energy Agency says that Japan's Fukushima wastewater monitoring system is largely reliable, but it has expressed some lingering concerns as part of its ongoing safety review of the wastewater. The IAEA released its midterm report on Wednesday, confirming that TEPCO, the operator of the Fukushima plant, is taking comprehensive and realistic programs to monitor the safety of the soon-to-be discharged wastewater from the nuclear power plant. It added that TEPCO has made significant progress after taking into account the agency's previous feedback. However, regarding TEPCO's environmental impact assessment, the IAEA called for a further explanation as to why the consumption of seafood caught at the location 3 kilometers north from the site is excluded, noting that concentrations in seafood are likely to be higher there. Now, the finalized report is likely to be released within this year after a few more follow-up reviews. The UN Security Council's North Korea Sanctions Committee released an expert panel report on Wednesday, stating that while North Korea has not conducted its 7th nuclear test yet, it continues to produce nuclear material. The report added that Pyongyang has launched a total of 73 ballistic missiles, including 8 intercontinental ballistic missile test launches last year, while steadily operating its nuclear facilities amid heightened tensions on the Korean Peninsula. Now, the panel also reported that hacker groups affiliated with the North Korean government are believed to have stolen their largest ever haul of virtual currency assets last year to finance nuclear weapons development. It also noted the hacker group Lazarus targeted a government agency in Ukraine and was reported to have engaged in cyber espionage with the goal of stealing intellectual property. President Yoon will be addressing a joint session of the U.S. Congress during his upcoming state visit to Washington. According to the presidential office, the invitation was delivered on Wednesday via a group of bipartisan lawmakers from the U.S. House Committee on Foreign Affairs. The spokesperson for the president said that Mr. Yoon took the invitation and said he is happy to be delivering a speech as the two countries celebrate the 70th anniversary of their alliance. According to Bloomberg, the speech is set to take place on April 27th, which is a day after the summit and the state dinner at the White House with the U.S. President Joe Biden. The last time a South Korean president addressed the U.S. Congress was Park Geun-hye 10 years ago. During Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Warsaw on Wednesday, Poland pledged additional fighter jets for Ukraine for their ongoing war with Russia. While Ukraine continues to get its help from its allies, a NATO chief warned China that any military assistance to Russia would be a major mistake. Our Lee Seung-ja has more.
Poland has pledged more fighter jets to Ukraine, this time promising to deliver 6 additional MiG-29 fighter jets. According to Polish President Andrzej Duda, the Soviet-era jets are undergoing maintenance and should be ready to be delivered quickly. During a joint speech in Warsaw, President Duda stressed the importance of continued support for Ukraine.
It's a long way until this war is over. Ukraine needs support. It needs further deliveries of modern weapons. Poland was and is one of the leaders in this support. We know very well that who defends its house, who defends its nation, who defends its cities and villages, who defends its citizens need immediate help. There is no time for waiting.
Poland has been key in Ukraine's fight against Russia, being among the first countries to offer Ukraine tanks and other artillery and armaments. Meanwhile, speaking at NATO headquarters in Brussels, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said Russia was becoming more and more dependent on China due to the crippling economic sanctions. However, he warned that any lethal weapons supplied by China to Russia would be a historic mistake with profound implications.
China refuses to condemn Russia's aggression, it echoes Russian propaganda, and it props up Russia's economy. China and Russia are also stepping up their joint military activities in the Indo-Pacific region. Allies have been clear that any provision of lethal aid by China to Russia would be a historic mistake with profound implications.
He also criticized Moscow's announcement that it would station tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus, noting that the joint statement issued by Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping after their summit last month amounted to empty promises. However, Stoltenberg said that despite Russia's announcement saying it would deploy tactical nuclear weapons, Moscow has yet to make such a move, but stressed Russia's actions should be closely watched. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea, the U.S. and Singapore have been on the hunt to extradite disgraced Terraform Labs CEO Do Kwon ever since the massive Terra Luna crash that wiped out about $40 billion from the crypto markets. Now, the crypto fugitive is accused of fraud and tax evasion. For more on where he's likely to end up, we're joined by Professor Jo Young from Hongik University this morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Authorities in Montenegro there say Do Kwon will go nowhere until he's punished for the fake Costa Rican and Belgian passports found on him, which led to his arrest last month. Now, Professor, what will be his fate in Montenegro? What will happen there?
So I understand that the authorities in Montenegro have actually extended his detention, which they are allowed to for up to 72 hours, but that's been extended. And as you mentioned, the authorities in Montenegro are looking to charge Do Kwon for possessing fake passports. Now, I'm not entirely clear on the passport law of Montenegro, but the equivalent law in Korea certainly imposes up to 3 years of maximum imprisonment if you are in possession of fake passports. And so that would be the first charge that Do Kwon might be facing in Montenegro. And if he is actually found guilty of the specific offense in Montenegrin criminal law, then he will most likely be required to serve time in Montenegro, unless Montenegrin government decides that it's more expeditious to, in fact, extradite him to one of the 3 countries that want him.
Right. And I'm sure facing a charge on passport forgery was not on his list in the beginning to begin with.
I'm sure that's right, yes.
And now his lawyers argue that the United States Securities and Exchange Commission is violating the law and that SEC is acting outside its jurisdiction, saying that Do Kwon is Singaporean resident and also the Terraform Labs is also a Singaporean firm. Now, there is a speculation that the argument is largely to avoid any ruling by the U.S. Is that so?
Well, obviously, Do Kwon wants to evade being extradited to the U.S. because out of those 3 jurisdictions, U.S. has the stiffest penalty with regard to financial crimes. If you look at previous cases, for somebody like Do Kwon, they could be facing up to, hundreds of years in prison term. If he is in fact charged and guilty of the kind of financial fraud that the securities authority in the U.S. are looking to do. And so his lawyers would be looking at every avenue to try to essentially cast off or argue that the SEC does not have jurisdiction here. But I think there will be an uphill battle because obviously Terra Luna cryptocurrency were widely available for transaction in the U.S. and there are certainly many, many investors who've lost their shirts as a result of this scam in the U.S. as well. So that alone would give SEC certain jurisdiction, and they have very comprehensive long-arm legislation that can reach outside of its territorial boundary to nab people overseas. So, in fact, there were cases where people were actually extradited from Montenegro to U.S. for having committed certain kind of fraud during the COVID era, even though there is no extradition treaty directly between Montenegro and the U.S.
Right. But the thing is, Do Kwon is insisting that SEC is acting outside its jurisdiction. Now, what are Do Kwon and his lawyers' next moves expected to be, Professor?
Well, I expect that they will be defending the charges by the Montenegrin authorities first because, currently he's in custody there and he's not a free man. And so whatever they can do next only has to come after they have managed to deal with that first immediate charge and somehow secure his physical liberty so that he could move somewhere else and possibly plan the next steps. But so I think that will be the uppermost on their minds. But in the meantime, obviously, they will also be coming up with defenses and arguments to deal with claims by SEC and the Singaporean authority and South Korean authorities as well.
Right. It looks like it will take some time for any country to extradite Do Kwon.
Yes, indeed. And the question is, well, how will Montenegrin authority will decide, and also whether if Do Kwon is indeed found guilty of passport forgery charges, he will actually spend time in Montenegrin prison.
Right. All right, Professor Jo, thank you so much for your insight this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
The World Expo delegation will wrap up their 4-day trip to Busan today with a visit to the UN Memorial Cemetery and fireworks at Gwangalli Beach. On Wednesday, they checked out the proposed venue for the 2030 edition of the event, Busan's Northport. Our Kim Mo-gyun tells us more.
The Bureau International de Expositions delegation held an on-site inspection around Busan's Northport, which is the proposed venue for World Expo 2030. The delegation are there to review the city's capabilities to host the event, and on the second day of their visit to the port city, the 8-member team watched the third and penultimate presentation prepared by South Korea's bidding committee, which is deemed the most important. The latest presentation included detailed plans about the expo site, hall, visitors, and transportation in the Northport area. The presentation under the theme City and Site was hosted by Busan Mayor Park Hyung-jun. Professor Jin Yang-gyo spoke in detail about the exhibition hall, while Busan's ambassador for international relations, Shin Jae-hyun, spoke about the expected number of visitors and their stays in the city. The bidding committee also showed the members a video that detailed the future vision for the 2030 expo site. The virtual tour was about how the venue will look in 2030, as the Busan metropolitan government has been undertaking a 2-stage project to redevelop the area, which includes a floating city and a 1.98 million square meter exhibition hall. The members also briefly took a simulated flight in an urban air mobility vehicle, which is also known as a flying taxi developed by SK Telecom. After the tour of the proposed venue, the delegation held a luncheon with a group of Busan residents, committee representatives, and Busan city officials. Kim Mo-gyun, Arirang News.
And Busan citizens are more enthusiastic and eager than ever in support of their city. Our Song Yu-jin shows with us some of the energetic, passionate voices down in the port city.
Excitement fills the air in Busan as the Bureau of International Expositions is inspecting the city for the 2030 World Expo. Throughout the Expo week, 16 districts and counties of Busan are holding 67 events in support of the city's candidacy. Walking around, you can see and feel how much the city and its people are hoping to bring this global event to their doorstep.
Here, Haeundae Beach, no doubt one of the most popular beaches here in South Korea, is among the many spots here in Busan that's showing support for the city's bid. This area is now buzzing with excitement, with citizens cheering and expressing their enthusiasm for the 2030 Busan World Expo.
The beach, close to where the BIE delegation is staying, has transformed into a colorful, vibrant venue for people to show their support. There is a giant sandcastle engraved with the 2030 Busan World Expo logo, a tower that plays the expo's promotion video, and big letters spelling out Busan Expo, where people can stick messages backing Busan's bid. A wave of support is sweeping Haeundae Beach.
I believe we have a good chance of winning. It's because South Korea has gained a lot of international recognition lately with the popularity of K-pop and K-dramas.
Busan will definitely host the expo. I'm 100% sure.
There is a reason behind this confidence. The city has captured the hearts of those both from home and abroad.
I think Busan has the best of both worlds. It's got a bustling city vibe and plenty of tourist hotspots to explore.
Busan is extremely interesting and enjoying because of its unique beachside view and fantastic sky towers, beautifully lighted, nice flyovers, and other beautiful tourist attractions.
Those in Busan are keeping their fingers crossed, hoping their energy and passion will prove that Busan is the one.
부산 화이팅! 부산 화이팅! 부산 화이팅! 부산 엑스포 유치해!
부산 화이팅!
송유진, 아리랑 뉴스, 부산.
Good morning, I'm Matthew Ashley, and we now turn over to stories from around the world. We begin in Brazil, where 4 children have been killed and at least 4 others wounded in an axe attack at a daycare center. The attack on Wednesday in the city of Blumenau in the south of the country was reportedly carried out by a 25-year-old male who climbed over a fence at the center and attacked children in the playground with an axe. 3 boys and 1 girl were killed. They were believed to be between 4 and 7 years old. The suspect later turned himself in at a police station and is now in custody. Authorities are searching for a motive, but there seems to be no clear link between the suspect and the daycare center. The attack on the daycare center is the second in 2 years for Brazil's Santa Catarina state. In 2021, an 18-year-old man killed 3 children and 2 staff members at a creche using a machete. Meanwhile, healthcare products manufacturer Johnson & Johnson has offered $8.9 billion to settle claims that some of its products caused cancer. According to CNBC, this follows over 60,000 lawsuits filed against the company over baby powder and talc products, with some alleging that products contained asbestos. The proposed settlement was announced in a securities filing on Tuesday, which marks a major step up from the health giant's previous $2 billion settlement proposal. The proposed settlement would be paid over the next 25 years through a subsidiary that has filed for bankruptcy. The subsidiary was first created in 2021 to help settle the lawsuits, but its filings for bankruptcy protection have been blocked by an appeals court. Turning over to the United Kingdom, where the title Queen Camilla has been used officially for the first time. Appearing in writing on the official invitation to the coronation of King Charles III, it marks a change from Queen Consort. Camilla had been named Queen Consort when her husband acceded to the throne after the death of Queen Elizabeth II. But there was speculation over whether Camilla would drop consort and adopt the Queen title only, amid divided public opinion over her place in the royal family. The coronation invitations were released by Buckingham Palace on Tuesday and were sent to 2,000 guests. The ceremony is set to take place on May 6th. And finally, a stray cat has gone viral after climbing onto the shoulder of an imam during prayers that were being broadcast live at a mosque in Algeria. Imam Walid Messas got a surprise visitor while leading worshippers through the Taraweeh, a nightly prayer during the holy month of Ramadan. A stray cat decided to join, climbing onto him and licking his face. But without missing a beat, the imam continued, gently stroking the feline until it jumped off.
Good morning. There is some occasional rain here and there this morning. Yesterday's rain helped to ease the dryness in the air and the nationwide drought. But we do need even more rain to completely ease the dryness, but what we got was very much needed. After the rain moves out, expect to have cloudy and chilly conditions this afternoon, and it will drop to just 3 degrees Celsius on Saturday morning here in the capital, with a chance of seeing frost and ice in some inland areas. Meanwhile, cold northwesterly winds not only bring chillier air but also dust to the country. Incheon and Chungcheong-namdo province will have bad dust levels all day, and the rest of the western parts of the country will see poor air quality during the first half of the day. Morning temperatures are 1 to 7 degrees lower than the same time yesterday, and as for highs, other than Gyeongsang-do provinces, where Daegu sees a high of 19 degrees Celsius, the rest of the country will have highs that are 3 to to 4 degrees lower today. Daejeon, Gwangju topping out at just 13 degrees. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That wraps up today's A New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for Friday's edition at the same time. Thanks for watching.